Hello and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard list review. Today's list was sent in by Jazz, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and it is 1850 points. By Jazz has said that he's new to 40k, totally new, just needs some advice. He's gone for Imperial Guard. Okay, cool. So the list is a combined arms detachment, 1850 points, and that's it. Nothing special, just a good old-fashioned combined arms detachment. This was actually I recognised straight away. It's sent in using the battle scribe format. If that's easier for any of you guys who want to send me lists in, obviously battle scribe is fine. I'm used to reading it in that format. Okay, so. Starting off, no Force Orc chart, a Ministorum Priest, 25 points with the free Autogun upgrade. Good. A lot of people just forget to take the Autogun, but you don't replace anything, you just get a free Autogun. So you should always have the Autogun upgrade. So good spot there. Primaris Psyker, 75 points for Staff, level 2. And another one of those for Staff, level 2. Okay. Nothing wrong with those. You've gone for level 2. That's what I always say. If you're going for level 1 Psychers, you might as well buy an Astropath. But there we go. He's gone for level 2, so that's perfect. HQ, 155 points. And I believe this is for a single company command squad. And you've taken an Astropath, company commander with no upgrades, massive ordnance, Lascannon team, Medi-pack, and Regimental standard. Okay, that unit's too expensive. Way too expensive. My general rule of thumb is you take a single advisor. If you don't bother taking two, and if you're not taking any advisors, which I would say is perfectly reasonable, then you want to try and keep it to under 100 points. Or about 100 points for your company command squad. My preferred company command squad without any advisors is 97 points, I believe. It's a company commander with a Lasgun team, a regimental standard, and a sniper. It's very just cheap and effective. You're tossing out 2 orders a turn. Regimental standard keeps the unit and all the units around it in line. And the Lasgun and sniper pair nicer than you think, because most of the time in this day and age you'll be shooting at monstrous creatures. And snipers wound monster creatures on a 4-up, so they do pair alright. So, just a bit of advice, this command squad that you've gone for is way too expensive. I would choose between either the Astropath and the Massive Ordnance. I would recommend you try both out, see which one you prefer. And then I wouldn't bother with the Medi-pack. It's 15 points, it gives your guardsmen feel no pain, 5+, not bad. However, your guardsman only toughens 3. Majority of the time, you're not going to get that feel no pain save. You're going to get instant death, because feel no pain. You can't take a feel no pain save unless you have when you are instant death. So that Medi-pack most of the time will be useless. I mean, I can honestly tell you, there's been very few times in 6th and 7th edition where I've gone, oh my god, I wish I'd bought a Medi-pack. So ditch the Med-pack and choose one of the 2 advisors. That would be my recommendation. Okay, troops. Infantry Platoon number 1, 20 conscripts. Okay, I would, personal recommendation, never take conscripts in less than 30. 30 is the bare minimum you want for conscripts, because to be effective, you need to have enough of them. 20 conscripts, it just isn't enough. It's just not enough. Then you have a infantry squad with an autocannon and a voxcaster. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. So 40 men, 4 autocannons. No special weapons. Throw in a grenade launcher. That would be my recommendation. Throw in a grenade launcher on each squad. And there's a commissar leading that blob of men. I understand that's the way Battlescribe does it. That's fine. Platoon command squad with autocannon team. Nothing else. I would honestly recommend you don't give your autocannon, your platoon command squad, any upgrades, because it's going to die anyway. Your platoon command squads are generally quite high priority targets because they're a source of orders. Any of your officers are a source of orders. So my recommendation is you keep your platoon command squads as cheap as possible. Keep them low profile. You don't want, if you stick a big fuck off autocannon in the middle of a platoon command squad, it just screams at your opponent, shoot me, shoot me. Your officer squads are already really easy to kill, so keep them cheap and keep them mobile. That's the advantage, and low profile. So far, if I check, I don't really see a reason for you taking that Voxcaster, if I've got to be honest. You have no other Voxes in your army, and the only way Voxcasters work is if both the squad that is giving the order and the squad that is receiving the order have a Voxcaster, which means your platoon commanders and your company commanders will need a Voxcaster, as well as one of the guardsman squads in the blob. So at the moment, that Voxcaster is useless because you haven't put it in any of your command squads. So that's 5 points you can save right there. Second platoon, infantry squad with a missile launcher, ×3. Okay, cool. I dig it. It's a 30-man blob, missile launcher. There's a commissar in there as well. But again, no special weapons. You don't want to throw, again, grenade launchers pair quite nicely with missile launchers. So, again, you might want to consider that. And you've given your platoon command squad here a missile launcher, which again, I would avoid. But then you've also given that missile team flak missiles. Straight away, get rid of the flak missiles. They are completely useless. Completely shit. I know what you've done there. You're thinking to yourself, well, I need some anti-air. Trust me. A 5-man squad with a single strength 7 AP 4 shot, that only has a 50% chance of hitting, and on top of that, against most flyers, only has a 50% chance of doing any damage, which the flyer could then jink. It's a waste of time. It's just, pardon me, it's just 10 points down the drain. So my recommendation, strip that flak missile launcher out, keep it bare bones. Strip the autocannon team out of the other platoon command squad, keep it bare bones. Get rid of that Voxcaster. You save yourself a load of... Get rid of the Medi-pack. You save yourself loads of points here. But apart from that, to give you some positive reinforcement, apart from that, I like you've got 2 platoons. I like you've taken 30 to 40 men in both platoons. I like how you've already got the concept of blobbing up. Excellent. This is all good. Okay, this is all good, solid, standard, plenty of bodies on the field kind of stuff. I like it. So so far, the only criticism I have of your list so far is that you have wasted a few points here and there, but the general structure, you've got it. For someone who's totally new to 40k, you've definitely done your research. Okay, going forward, another troops choice. This time a squad of veterans in a Chimera. No doctrines, just 3 plasma guns. Okay, Chimera, heavy bolter, multi-laser, and pintle-mounted storm bolter. Okay, straight away is another 5 points you can save. Get rid of the storm bolter. It's not going to do anything. If you're going to take a pintle-mounted weapon, you take the heavy stubber every single time. It's 36-inch range, the heavy stubber. It's the same strength. The only difference is it's AP 6 versus AP 5 on the storm bolter. And let me tell you now, that AP 5 on the storm bolter is not worth 1 less shot and 12 inches less range. Take this if you're going to take it. Heavy stubbers all the way. Overall, I wouldn't recommend it. Why? Just a random heavy stubber stuck in there. In my opinion, heavy stubbers are like grenade launchers. They're only 5 points each, but on their own, as an individual upgrade, they're a waste of 5 points. However, if you take them everywhere, then it still only sets you back about 30 or 40 points, and then they actually achieve something, because every turn you're chucking out 15 to 18, or however many strength 4 shots, and it just helps. It just helps, but an individual one on its own is not worth it. What do I think of that squad overall? It's slightly out of place. The reason I say this is it's the only Chimera in your army. It's the only veteran squad in your army. So hasn't got anything to back it up, really, but it's not bad. It's not bad. It's it's all right. I guess it does provide. I guess how I would use that is I wouldn't just before I move on. I wouldn't charge that off into the middle of nowhere. I would use it tactically as more of a counter-attack unit. Imagine you've got some kind of monstrous creature bearing down on you. What you do is you keep this guy in reserve. You use the chimeras, heavy weapons to pew pew pew, and then when the big nasty gets close, you hop out, double tap plasma gun, 2 plasma gun shots per plasma gun, 6 plasma gun shots, boom. That's how I would use it personally. If you've only got the one, if you have multiple veterans and chimeras, it's possible to do a Highland charge. It's possible to do a not necessarily suicide push, but a mechanized push. But with a single one, I feel it plays a much more defensive role. Fast attack, very simple. 3 fast attack slots, all of them a single armoured sentinel, I believe. Oh no, you've taken them as a single squadron. Okay, well my advice to you is if you have 3 fast attack slots, take them as 3 separate sentinels, because you've not taken anything else in your fast attack choice. Now the reason I recommend this is because if you have all the sentinels in one squad, it means, like a squad, extra hull points will spill over. So if you have a single sentinel on its own and your opponent does 3 hull points of damage, the single sentinel dies. If you have a squadron and you take 3 hull points, 1 sentinel dies and the other one takes a hull point, like a wound. It's like having multiple wounds in a squad. It rolls over. So my advice to you here, take straight away, if you're going to take armoured sentinels, which I don't think are a bad idea, then take them as 3 separate squads. Now you've given each one a plasma cannon. Don't disapprove. I think that's okay. It means those sentinels are going to have a hella short life, because they know a 2 hull point vehicle with a plasma cannon is just screaming overheat and kill itself, but relatively cheap. The one thing I would say though is that armor sentinels tend to fill the role of heavy weapons teams in your squads if you're taking them. So which means they essentially serve as mobile heavy weapons teams. So for example, let's take your infantry platoon number 2 with the 30 guys and the missile launchers in it. How I would run that is, if you're taking, how you run that is, instead of taking the heavy weapons on the squads, you give the squads special weapons so they can stay mobile, and then you have 2 armor sentinels behind them, essentially acting as the heavy weapons teams. The sentinels can keep up, they're heavily armored, armor 12 on the front. Works a lot better. So my advice here is, if you're taking armor sentinels, you're clearly taking them as in a support role. Plasma cannons. Ditch, if you want, ditch your heavy weapons. You don't have to, but you can save a lot of points there. Give your guardsmen some beefy special weapons. Give them plasma guns, and what you're essentially rocking then is a ultra frazzle platoon, ultra plasma death platoon. Because what happens is you've essentially got there 3 plasma cannon heavy weapon teams, cough, armoured sentinels, and 3 plasma guns. Which means you have a platoon which is able to kick out, if you use the 2 units together, 6 plasma shots a turn. That ain't too shabby. Up close, that becomes 9. Pretty potent. And, in terms of guard, very mobile. Definitely mobile. You're not having to worry about conga lining, because the problem with conga lining your guardsmen back to keep the heavy weapon team still is that it means you're not making as much ground as you could be. You know, and I'm finding recently that I need every man pushing forward. I've played a few games now where my conga lines played against Tau, admittedly, and I've been pushing forward wave after wave of guys, and my conga lines have almost been letting me down a little bit because I need those guys that are conga lining back, because I need them forward to take those extra inches. But anyway, overall, I would say the Armour Sentinels were a good choice, but if you're taking Armour Sentinels, use them as heavy weapon teams for your guardsmen. There you go. Heavy support. Again, you've taken squadrons when you don't really need to. So you've taken a Basilisk battery, 2 Basilisks straight up. Nothing too wrong with that. And then you've taken 2 Exterminators with heavy bolter sponsons and hull heavy bolters straight up. Well, you can separate those out. You have 3 heavy support slots. So take 3. You know, take the Basilisk in a squadron and have the 2 Exterminators as lone wolves. You can do that. Again, saves you on hull points. Nothing wrong with each individual unit taken as it is. However, on the whole, I feel you are drastically lacking in anti-tank. You have some missile launchers and a couple of Basilisks, and that's all you really have for anti-tank. And Basilisks aren't really anti-tank. They may be strength 6 AP 3 Ordnance, but they lack that big punch of an AP 2 or AP 1 weapon. They're essentially a glorified autocannon. They just strip hull points off. So you need a bit more. You need a bit more anti-tank. That's all I can really recommend. You've got plenty of everything else, but you definitely need some more anti-tank. Overall, however, that is as I would say, that is meta dependent. So obviously, if you face a fuckload of monstrous creatures day in, day out, or you anticipate that you're going to be facing a lot of monstrous creatures, then your list is absolutely fine. If you anticipate that you will be facing lots of vehicles, then your list is going to struggle, because they will pick off your company commands with the Lascannon, and they'll put everything they can into your 30-man missile blob, and then that's it. You're low on anti-tank at that point. So, very quickly, what would I recommend for this list? Well, you want to drop the Medi-pack, 1. You want to drop the Voxcaster, 2. You want to drop the Autocannon Platoon Command Squad number 1. You want to drop Platoon Command Squad number 2's Flak Missile Launcher. You want to drop the Storm Bolter. In total, that gives you 5, 30, 40, 45, 60 points. That 60 points could buy you a grenade launcher for every squad. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grenade launchers. That's only 35 points. You still have 25 points left over for other stuff. Okay, you see how a big difference it makes, saving all these little points here and there? You've got to squeeze every penny. Those 60 points could upgrade every heavy weapon you have in your army. 4 autocannons, assuming that, 4 autocannons, they could be made Lascannons, and you still have 20 points left over. You can make your missile launcher blob Lascannons as well. You'd have a hell of a lot more punch, and you haven't actually dropped a single model. 60 points, 20 more conscripts. 60 points, goes on and on and on. So that's my recommendation. My other recommendation is take another look at taking Basilisks. They are not particularly good. They're 125 points. They're quite expensive. They're not really adding much to your force. What I would do, and this is in the last few seconds of the video, last minute of the video, is I would drop those 60 points from saving the little bits here and there, Medi-pack, Voxcaster, etc. Upgrade those platoon squads to Lascannons, and then downgrade your Basilisks to Wyverns. Wyverns will give you a lot more anti-infantry, which is what you want, and they'll be better, and your Lascannons will be better anti-tank than your Basilisks, and then you should still have enough points left over at that point to get yourself a couple more armoured Sentinels, which will be able to serve as some additional heavy weapons teams. Last thing I would say is consider swapping out, if you're taking lots of Armour Sentinels, consider swapping out your Armour Sentinels, your heavy weapons teams in your platoon squads, because your Armour Sentinels will be essentially doing the same job. So, very last thing, what do I think of the list? I think it's a good list. For a first list, I think it's very, very capable. And I think if you took that list right now to a friendly game, you wouldn't have any issues. However, it's in my scale of competitiveness, I would only rank this as a friendly list. Okay, you've got a few points and efficiencies and a few subpar unit choices. If you change those up, Wyverns, Basilisks, Lascannons and Platoon Blobs, etc., etc., I think you could easily make this quite a competitive list. Definitely one that can give the enemies of mankind a bloody nose. So I hope you enjoy this video. If anyone else has a list they want to send in, please don't hesitate. Thank you guys for watching.